Hey, I'm just going to take 30 seconds here to talk with you, check in to see how you've been liking the episodes of the podcast. If you find that the podcast episodes resonate with you, if they make sense to you, if you've been enjoying them, that's great. I'm really happy. And so I want to tell you about how you can learn more about me and working with me. The best place to find me is on my website, which is www.juliephillipshatch.com. And there you can read more about me. There's a link where you can buy my book if you'd like, A Parenting Revolution for Higher Evolution, Raising Resilient, Responsible, Compassionate Kids from the Inside Out. There is also a link for the quiz to find out the personality type of your child, which is the quiz for the element type of your child, which I talked about in the first few episodes of the podcast way back in September. There is you can read my blogs. I have blog posts. So there's stuff to see on my website. And there's a way that you can set up a time to talk with me if you want. You can send me an email and we can figure out a time that is mutually agreeable for us. Or you can go to the Calendly link and we can set up a time. And really, we just start out with having a conversation because I would love to hear about what you're struggling with, what your questions are. Because this parenting thing with all of the worries and the doubts and the not sure what to do and the stresses, it's not easy and you don't need to do it alone. So I'd be happy to talk with you, just have a conversation with you. And then from there, we can decide if you want to do one-on-one sessions or a parenting program or a number of things that happen after that. But to start with, you want to go to juliephillipshatch.com. And I'm so glad that you've been listening to my podcast. Thanks. Hello, welcome back. Welcome to another episode of Moms on a Mission with your host, Julie Hatch. If this is your first podcast you're listening to or watching, then welcome. And if you are a regular follower, a regular listener, then welcome back. Glad to have you here again. Today, I have another guest, really interesting guest whose name is Aliza Said. And she is a mama marriage coach. She says that she is married to her best friend, and she's a mama of 4 little blessings. And I just brought to her attention that she now needs to change it to 5 little blessings because she just had a baby 3 weeks ago. Is that what it was? 3 weeks ago. So she's got 5 little kids and still married to her best friend. She is a relationship coach, and she is passionate about empowering moms to reconnect to their husbands after having kids and start living like soulmates instead of roommates. Love that. She lives on genuine connections, holistic thought patterns, positive growth mindset. Her strengths are deep, compassionate listening and reprogramming your mind to realign with your soul. I love seeing couples rekindle their love and turn the mess into magic. Welcome, Aliza. It's so nice to have you here. I love that introduction and that bio of you. It's a beautiful description of what you do and who you are.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
And just so tell me how many, well, we've established that you have 5 children. What are their ages?
So I have 5 beautiful blessings, as I like to say. Blessings and, challenge at times. My oldest is 9, and then I have a 7-year-old, and then I have an almost 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 3-week-old baby.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how you do it. Although I used to, until I had 3 kids, I used to want to have 6 kids, and then I had 3 and I thought that was fine. So good for you. Good on you.
Thank you. I say that with each baby, I feel like I know how to love more. Like, I feel like they expand my heart, and like, I know what it is to love a little bit more.
Ah, that's beautiful. They are lucky little kids. I know that. And I'm sure you got a lucky husband. So
I'm a lucky wife.
You posed the question, how awesome would it be to feel deeply in love with your husband again? And this is particularly after having kids. And I think that a lot of moms out there would say, oh my God, that would feel amazingly awesome. How do I do it? So obviously marriage, I say obvious. It was obvious for me that marriage changed a lot after having kids, after the first kid, and then it changed more after the second and more after the third. So what do we do? How do we keep the relationship from fizzing out and sometimes completely dying out completely. How can we bring some energy and positivity to this new aspect of our marriage?
So it's an excellent question. And before we talk about how to save the marriage, I'd like to talk a little bit about how the marriage really changes, or before how the marriage changes, how we ourselves change so much.
Mhm.
And I think that I was just talking to a friend and she was like, what do you mean how we change? How do we not change after having kids? So much changes when we have children. Our identity is like thrown up in the air and we have to understand who we are again. Our body changes so much and we have to reaccept our body.
Mhm.
We are exhausted. We feel like we don't have energy. We don't have any, where am I going to find any energy or sources of any ability to be able to, work on a marriage as well. We feel like everybody is taking from us. We have to give to the
Mhm.
kids. We have to give to everybody. And I don't have anything left. And
Oh, so
there's
true.
so much going on. Also, another thing that I see a lot with clients is, especially with a first baby, they get to know what mommy guilt is. And
Yeah.
like, we have to accept that I'm not going to be perfect. And also accept that sometimes the feelings that I'm feeling is not what I expected to feel. Like sometimes I'm not feeling completely in love with my baby and loving every moment of it. And it's hard for me to admit it to myself. So then I kind of like cover up what I'm really feeling. And
Mhm.
then it's really hard for me to share it with my partner because I'm in denial a little bit by myself.
Yeah.
And then when we take all that and we mesh it together with being in a relationship, it becomes very, very confusing because both mama and papa are, dealing with their new roles, their
Mhm.
new identities, their new demands, the new schedules that are going on. And there's so many new things that they have to deal with. And it feels like there's a lot less of everything. There's less time, less energy, and it feels like a marriage after having kids is just less passion, less time for intimacy, less time for connecting at all. And I like to say that instead of it being less, it's just turning it into quality over quantity.
Hmm.
So, okay, so we might have less time, but that means that the time that we do have, we're going to have to be really smart in making it really, really quality, good time together, which means we're going to have to be way more full of intentions
Mhm.
over our time together and our relationship. It's not going to be like, okay, we're going out on date night and we'll think about what we're going to do. No, we have a certain amount of time with the babysitter. So we're going to have to think before about what we're going to do. So then what happens is instead of it being less, it becomes like we have time to nail it exactly. We have
Yeah.
time to make it exactly what it is we need and to really evaluate our relationship and see which part of our relationship needs work on now. And that's what we're going to be doing now. So it kind of puts us into this, corner of forcing us to really work on the things that need to be worked on.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. And quality over quantity is a very good point. When you talk about the parts of a marriage that need to be worked on, if there are parts that need to be worked on before you even have kids, it seems like that's already put you behind the eight ball, and it's going to be all that much harder to add a kid in there and still be able to tackle the problems that you're having.
Yeah. I feel like our culture today kind of like gives us this, it's the either or, like you're either a mother or you're a career woman. You're either in America. And I feel like it's not, I do these things despite being a mother. I do these things because I'm a mother so the same thing with marriage. It's not that be, despite having a child, we're going to be able to be in a better place. It's thanks to having the child, it's going to help us become in a better place.
Yeah.
So that means that we have to put a lot of work and effort into it, but it doesn't mean that we're doomed if before. I like to say that motherhood and marriage are the most epic personal development journey that there is. There's
Yeah.
nothing that brings you to a more genuine place of mirroring yourself and like looking at the reflection of what it is you need to work on all the time in your relationship and with your kids. So, okay, yeah, it does make things more intense, but that means that the inner work that I can potentially do is even deeper and even more intense.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. That's a great way to look at it, because it's true. Those are the two monumental events in a woman's life, I think. Certainly in my life. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, yep.
And I think also, if a lot of it is mindset and how I perceive what we're going through. And a lot of times friction comes up when we don't perceive ourselves as teammates
Mhm,
working on this together. And
mhm.
then scorekeeping comes up. And then it's, well, I woke up with her last night and I changed her diaper today. And well, you see, I have lots of examples for a little baby here, but whatever it is, we start scorekeeping because it's me against him. And when we change our mindset and no, it's not me against him, it's us in it together to be able to create a family full of love and peace and happiness. So we're in it together, and then we try and work on things together. And I also think you asked, how do we keep things from not fizzling out? So if we're talking about, before I said things in our culture that might need changing, one of the things that I think we think about love is, when I love someone, I will give to them. And I
Yeah.
think we need to change that to, when I give to someone, I will love them.
Uh-huh.
So love is kind of like a bonfire, right? Like if me and my kids, we love to like go out into the nature and do like outdoor cooking. And when you have a fire, you know that the fire will keep burning when you add more wood to it.
Mhm,
If you don't add wood to it, yeah, it'll die down, it'll
mhm.
fizzle out. And love is the same way. So when you give, and the giving is the adding the bonfire, when you're giving to the other person, then the love comes as well. It's
Yeah,
not the other way around. It's
yeah.
okay, us human beings, we're almost the only beings that our children are so dependent on us for so long. I remember I actually saw a baby horse being born once,
Mhm.
and the horse comes out, and after a few minutes, she's up and running, and she can run away from her mother for a few moments, and she has this independence. And with babies, it's not like that. With human babies, we have to give and give and give. Here I
Yeah.
am, 3 weeks postpartum, and we give so much, and that's not for nothing. That's in order to build this really strong love that we have for our children, that we're willing to do whatever needs to be done for them. So with the only person that we get to choose to be our partner in life, we need to do the same thing of giving and giving and giving, and the love will come. Of course, I'm talking about a healthy relationship and not a relationship of any kind of abuse,
Yeah.
but in a healthy relationship, when both partners are with a growth mindset, when we're both giving, it makes like this ambiance of giving in the home. There's no scorekeeping, there's no blaming the other. We're in a team working together in order to create this burning fire of love in our home.
Ugh, so
Or I'll say
poetic.
warming, not burning.
Very poetic. I wonder if you're a writer. You have a really nice way with words.
Thank
Um,
you.
Let me ask, so when you talk about, I just lost my frame of thought. Oh, the mindset. So when you need to change your mindset about, it's not me versus him and me calling him out and scorekeeping and all that, which is often what it comes down to. Are there ways that you help people to change their mindset, or is it just simply being aware that you need to change your mindset? Or do you have any tricks or insights as to what would help people say, I can try to change my mindset?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, I think that many times awareness is all somebody needs,
Mhm.
because a lot of times, I'll start with that. But many times awareness is enough to be able to do the shift of just being aware of when it happens. Awareness is a kind of authority. Like once I'm aware of it, it's not ruling over me. It's not happening to me. It's something that I am aware of. And then I get to have the authority of choosing, is this what I want or should I change it? So
Okay.
many times awareness. Now, how do I get to that awareness? Many times we need to work on that, of even at the end of the day, journaling on times that I felt frustrated with my husband. And then I could see what patterns are frustrating me.
Uh-huh.
Or sometimes, actually, something that me and my husband have done, we would like open up a WhatsApp group, and we would be able to send each other like things that, okay, this frustrated me here. And then at the end of the day, we would sit together and like look back at the things that were frustrating that day and see, okay, there it was this point, there it was this, here it was, I was frustrated that I felt like I was doing so much and you weren't doing your, and here this was, and then all these things are in order to bring us to this awareness of what's going on and what is frustrating me.
Yeah.
So I think that many times that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah. That gives you a perspective. And like you say, it just makes you aware, it makes you say, oh, wow. And especially if that other person, your spouse, can say, well, look, I want to make you aware of this that's bothering me or whatever. It's a two-way street, obviously. And so you need to know what's bothering them or what gets under their skin just as much as you want to let them know what gets under your skin.
Right. And then also, once I have an awareness of what makes me so upset or what are the things that are, you know, annoying me each time, then it's really digging deep and understanding why is that what's annoying me? Because it's not that thing. Usually the surface thing is really hiding something much deeper.
Yeah.
Then I have to understand what is the need that I am trying to express when this is something that's frustrating me.
Yeah.
So once I have the awareness, then I could go a little deeper and understand what inside of me is, you know, needing something else.
Yeah, that's a lot of inner work, but we all need inner work throughout adulthood, really. So I think that probably what goes into a lot of this is communication. And do you have anything that you like to say or points that you make with your clients about communication and how to either improve it or optimize it or prioritize it?
Yeah, so communication is a big one. Also because communication also changes a lot after kids. There are so many more things that need to be talked about. And as we said, we're a team and we need to work together, but there's so many more things for us to disagree on, whether it's parenting styles, whether it's, you know, budget, there's new things that we need to deal with, whether it's how our family is involved in, you know, raising our new child. There's so many more things that need to be discussed and so many more opportunities to fight. Yeah. So I think that also the first thing before even talking about communication is to really understand that fighting is a good thing. We're supposed to have conflict. We're supposed to have tension. Without having those things, there's no opportunity for growth. You know, it's like kind of when you tie a knot, if we want to tie a knot in marriage, there has to be friction in order for the knot to be there. So in order for us to be able to grow, I once heard a really beautiful story that well, not a story, but like an example that if you take something really expensive that you want, like imagine you have this diamond necklace and you want to really take care of this diamond necklace and make sure that if somebody, you know, robs your house, they're not going to get this diamond necklace. So where are you going to put the diamond necklace? You're probably going to put it in somewhere very unexpected or in somewhere where they wouldn't think to look, right? Like a day-to-day place that nobody would think to look. You're not going to put it, if you put it into, you know, where you hide all your jewelry, then that's where they're going to go when they want to rob your house.
Yep.
So what happens with the beautiful things in marriage? They're usually hiding in the really unexpected places and or in the really day-to-day simple things that you wouldn't even think to look there for the beautiful things happening in marriage. So where are those places? Usually in conflict. Usually from conflict, you could grow so much more if you do it the right way than just from a day-to-day, you know, occurrence. And in the simple day-to-day things that you could grow so much as a couple. So let's go back to communication. So how can you communicate? So I think that first of all, it's also understanding that communication is an art of two things, of knowing how to express myself and also knowing how to listen.
Yeah.
And really, you know, this is a huge thing that we could talk about for hours and hours and hours, but I'll just say a few points. I think that one of the really important things is never assuming that both ways, that your partner knows what you're thinking or what you're feeling, and never assume that you know what he is thinking or feeling. because it's so easy for us to think that something is so clear. Like, don't you see that I've been awake with the, again, I'm going back to the baby example. He sees that I was awake with the, I mean, I just want to say, as I'm giving all these examples, I have an unbelievable husband supporting me postpartum, but you know, these things come up. So doesn't he see that I was awake all night? And, you know, he must know that I'm tired. And the fact that he doesn't even, you know, it's so easy for me to assume that he sees what's going on with me, sees that I'm going through this. So how does he not know? So never assume that the only thing you should assume is that he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what's going on, and you don't know what's going on with him. So many times we can, you know, blow things up. And then when we ask our partner what was going on, or what was he thinking, or what was his intention in doing whatever it was he did, then we understand that we had it all wrong. So the first thing is really not to assume at all, either way. And how do we not assume? We ask questions. We ask really simple questions with curiosity, with genuine curiosity, wanting to understand what the other person is going through. Another thing is, I like to always, in many different things, I like to talk about our relationship on 3 levels of, you know, mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
So really to make sure that we're communicating in all different levels. So it's not just, we have to make sure that we don't stay just at the basic communication of giving over information of how my day was, how your day was, what happened. Especially when we become parents, we can be just, you know, running the household together. So our communication could be stuck at that level of just being surface level team players in running this household. So make sure that we don't stay there.
Yeah.
Then we also have to make sure that we go, you know, to the soul level also of really creating emotional intimacy, making sure that we have times to connect on a whole different level. Make sure, and it could be so simple. It's so important to keep it really, really simple. It could be, there was a time that me and my husband, we decided every night, which every night already is not so simple for many people, but every night, just drink a cup of tea. As long as it takes to drink the cup of tea, that's the amount of time we have. Many times, you know, there was you just keep it simple, keep it very simple. And then that was the time. And you also make rules. No talking about the kids when we're sitting on our cup of tea. No talking about money. No talking about anything that's going to keep us from the emotional connection of how I'm feeling, how he's feeling, what's going on deeper inside of me. Then that's not allowed in our little tea sitting there. You know, you make rules for your time to connect on an emotional level. And then also body, make sure communication is not just what we talk. It's not just, it's also, you know, rolling your eyes is definitely a way to communicate something. Patting somebody's back is a way to communicate something. Giving a hug is also communication. So communication, we have to make sure that we're communicating on all different levels, and really also, you know, working on our relationship on all different levels. I also want to bust a myth that I was told when we got married: never go to sleep when you're angry.
Yeah.
Throw that out the window. Please go to sleep when you're angry at times. And you feel like this was very hard for me to accept in the beginning of our marriage, but many times when we're angry, or when we're in the, you know, the
throes of it.
Exactly. So we say things that we really don't mean. We imagine things that afterwards we look back and we're like, oh, wow, that was totally not. So I encourage people to regroup and then come back to connect after. Don't be afraid to take a step away and, you know, come back, especially as moms, when we're so deprived many times of very, very simple things such as sleep. But taking a shower could be, you know, a bit of, so when we're anyways sometimes in such a survival mode, then when we're put into a stressful moment, things can come out that we really don't want them to come out. So take a step away, see what it is that you need to get out of your survival mode, and then come back to connect in a different moment.
Good point. Out of survival mode. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And also, as I said, the art of listening is really an art, and learning how to listen and not just throw, you know, what it is that I was waiting to say when he would finish saying whatever it is that he's saying, or not giving my advice of what it is he needed to do, or I told you so, or, just listening and being in the other person's world and understanding what it is that they're going through and putting my ego on the side and being with them. And then they will also be able to do it for me.
That is huge. And that's really mature. It's really, I think it's really awakened to be able to say, to put your ego aside and just listen. I'm hearing more and more people say that we need to get better. Maybe we are getting better at listening, that our tendency is to already formulate what you want to say as they're talking. So you really aren't listening anymore. You're not present with them. You're just saying, oh, well, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that when they're done. And they take a breath and you spew in. So I think that people are becoming more aware of the importance of listening. I personally am learning to go, I say a lot, or I used to not say much at all. And then I started saying a whole lot. And now I'm back to saying, I don't need to say nearly as much as I do. So, but the point is that listening, consciously listening, really being present and not, and putting your ego aside. That's a great thing to say.
Well, I hope to do it as well as just saying it.
Well, hey, like you said, the awareness, you're aware of it, and that's half the battle.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask this is going a little off script, and I don't know if it's going to make you uncomfortable, but I hear I'm part of various Facebook groups of moms, especially young moms. And I hear a lot of times the mothers saying, oh my God, he wants to have sex all the time. And when you're a new mother, that is not what you're looking for. And I think that there's a little bit of a disparity. I'm reading into what, I'm reading from Facebook, and obviously it's not everybody, but there's a disparity between the guys wanting to get right back into intimacy and the woman is nothing feels good because you're so exhausted and cranky and irritable. I don't know. Do you face any of that with any of your clients or help them deal with that? Or maybe that's off topic.
No, it's completely on topic because, as we said, it's also a way of communication. And I once read an article about what are the two most, I don't know if it's really true, but this is what the article said, the two most hot topics between couples that make the most fighting within couples. One is sex and one is money. Wow. And it comes up with every couple, and every couple at different times. You brought up after birth, but every couple goes through different stages of life, that one wants it more, the other wants it less. Right. That one, it feels good, the other, there's different things that happen in life. And I think that in the end, again, this is a big topic that we could talk about a lot, but I think in the end it boils down to communication. It boils down to communication and also a mindset change. If we're talking about culture, things that there's something in our culture that we feel like things should be spontaneous and passionate and it should just always work. And if it's not working, and if it's not, then something's wrong. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong. Research shows that happy couples in a long-term relationship, the ones that are happy in their intimacy life are the ones that understand that it's a journey. And that there are times that it's good and there are times that it's more of a work. It's something that we have to work on it. Not that it's a burden, but that it's something that we have to work on and understand each other and get to know each other. Yeah. And then when we understand that it's something that, each of us have our needs, each of us have what we want, and we are able to communicate it in the right way, then we're able to, again, find treasures there as well, and be able to really learn so much more. What happens inside the bedroom is a mirror to what happens outside. What happens outside also mirrors back inside. Mm-hmm. Not always, but in general, there's definitely a lot of things that have a lot to do with it. So there's a lot to learn from both ways for the other, Yeah.
Yep. I get that. So talking about that, in terms of how do you, well, a couple of things are coming to mind. One, I see on your website that you have I think it's a free download on date night, how to have 50 good ways to have a date night, especially when you don't have a babysitter or something like that, which is a great thing. I'm going to just take a moment here to let all the listeners know that this is Aliza Said, and she has her website, alizasaid.com, but I'm going to spell it for you. It's ALIZA SAID. So it's sort of like Aliza said, but it's alizasaid.com. So she's got some good resources there. And like I say, one thing is, I think it's a free downloadable date night guide.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a couple little hints of what's in there?
Yeah. So also I'm going to have an episode on my podcast. I think next week it's coming out about date night, how to master date night after after having kids, because it's definitely something that needs to be talked about. Also, do we really need date night? Maybe we should change the idea of date night. So date night is a big topic that comes up a lot, and it seems kind of impossible after you have kids, and it's not. And I think that sometimes just, again, reframing our mindset, and maybe instead of calling it date night, we'll call it times of connection, like times of pure connection. It's completely possible, and it just needs to be kind of reframed in how we see it and what we do about it. So how could we do it? In that free download, there's also guidelines in how to make a home date great, because it's not just about what you do, it's also all the, everything that's going on around it. So one of the things, for example, is to really eliminate distractions as much as you can. But like, there are some things that phones are like one of the biggest enemies of intimacy today. To really decide that when me and my husband went out, I think it was after I had my third baby. We decided that after, I don't remember, I think it was a month, we were going to go out, just us and the baby, of course. And we were going to go to a restaurant. And we went to this restaurant, and we were sitting there, and we're looking around us. And at each of the tables, I think it was like packed. There were like 20 tables just right around us. Every single table, they were couples. And one person was looking at their phone, and the other was looking at the screen right in front of them. And we were like, wow, that's really great. Like, what a connected time they're having. And it was so funny to see every single couple. And we do it so instantaneously without thinking about it, because again, when we're in like this survival mode and we have a moment to be alone, so many times we just take out our phone and start scrolling because I need to decompress for a second. So one of the things that we decide is to take away distractions, put the phone on the side, turn off any alarms, any whatever that needs. So like, turn off distractions. That's number one. Be just present one for another.
Yep.
Another thing that we talk about a lot also with my clients, that if you had a business date or a business meeting, not a date, you would be there. Like, it doesn't matter what was happening. Your boss told you that you need to be there. You'd be there. And this is the one relationship that you are investing for the rest of your life that has such an influence on you and your children and generations even. Like, I believe that the love that you create in your home is going to, that's the love that your children are going out to the world with. So this relationship that you are creating, if you decide that this night is the night that you're going to be with your husband and work on your relationship, see it as a business date. See it as a time that everything else is less important at that moment. And look, I know it's a struggle at times. It's not always so easy. It's very easy to talk about it like this, but it's hard. And it means that you have to, sometimes change things around, and you have to really find a way to make it work, but you make it work. And again, keep it simple and keep it sometimes to the bare minimum. Now we spoke about it, that now that I'm postpartum, we're going to, have less moments, and that's okay. But we decide how many we need. And that is going to be sanctified time just for us to connect.
Yeah.
Also, there's all different tips. Again, I'll be talking about it on my podcast also. I think that planning a lot of times has a lot to do with how successful the date will be, because many times couples will, feel like, okay, good, we have time to do something, but now what do we do? Okay, let's just stay and we'll watch a movie, and then they fall asleep because, what mom doesn't fall asleep when watching?
We all know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And then like, okay, there goes the date. So you could think of all different creative ways to plan the date, whether it's, each time somebody else prepares the date or surprises the other with what it is we're going to be doing in the day. Or if you decide that each week of the month is a different, like 1 week we go to a restaurant, the next week, the second week of the month, we do an at-home date, the third date, like decide how you're going to plan your date nights. And then it becomes less of a mind game of what it is we're going to do. And then it becomes much more simple to actually do it and be there and be present at the time.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be anything big and fancy and magnanimous, especially if you're going to try to do it on some kind of a regular basis. You want to make it manageable and doable.
Yes, really simple, really simple. Stay with simplicity and progress over perfection. I say it about everything. Progress over perfection.
Yeah. You know, when you talk about about changing the term date night, I sort of stuck on that and maybe making it time of connection. I think, is that what you said it was?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of makes a lot of sense to me because date night, we're not teenagers on dates anymore. We're not 20-year-olds on dates. We have progressed, right? We have had progress and we're now adults with kids. And so I don't know. I sort of like your idea of changing the term date night to time of connection. It's a little more grown up.
Also, sometimes when we say date night, we think of, like you said, a date as a teenager, like going out to the movies and then going to a restaurant. And like it has like this very, kind of pattern of what it needs to be. And when it's time of connection, it could be any time of the day. It could be many different things. Or even I like to say to bundle things up. Like as parents, we have so many things that we need to do anyways, whether it's washing the dishes, folding laundry, taking the kids to school, whatever it is that we have that needs to be done can be bundled together with connecting time. Which means what? So for example, we had a time that we didn't have any free nights together, me and my husband. And the only time that we had together was, or possible time to have together, was taking our kids to school. So we decided, even though my husband didn't have to come with us to take the kids to school, we decided that he was going to come with me so that the drive back was going to be our time to be together, because it was something that we needed to do. And we couldn't find any other time. So you find something in your schedule that anyway needs to be done. Folding laundry can be really fun when you make a game out of it and when you turn it into a time of connection, or if you got to be creative with it. Yeah. But there's so many things that we're doing anyways. So why not put it together with something that we want to do?
Very creative. That's thinking outside the box, and it's very creative. And as I'm thinking, as you tell stories about you and your husband and your family, and you gave kudos to you gave credit to your husband earlier on. And back to what we were talking about before we even started recording this, is the importance of the mom-dad bond, and for kids to feel that love and see that love is really the best, is just such a gift to them. So I say kudos to you and to your husband. And I don't know if you have anything that you want to add, having heard my story about, I put my kids way before my husband, and that was certainly a problem. But we really need to put us, the couple, together, probably first and foremost. Even though kids are clamoring at you for all the attention, all your time, and all your energy, you really have to make a point of keeping that connection and that fire burning and warming.
Absolutely. Also I say that kids, I worked in education for many years, and I remember it was a PTA meeting that I had my first opportunity to meet a lot of the parents. And I remember being shocked how every single student that I had like questions about behavior, about different struggles that they were having, once I met their parents, it was so clear to me. I was like, wow, you could get so much insight just by meeting somebody's parents. And why is that? It's not because whatever you are, that's what your children are going to do. No, but our children learn so much more from us modeling behavior than us telling them to do something. So if I tell my child, you need to respect your brother, or don't yell at your brother, but a second later I'm yelling at my partner, it doesn't matter that I just told them not to yell. And when I live in love with my partner, I'm teaching my children also to live in love with others. And learning how to communicate. That's also a question that a lot of people ask me: should we fight in front of our front of our children? If you talk about communication changing, should we have disagreements? And I say yes. I say don't be afraid to have healthy conflict in front of your children, because then they see that there is stuff that goes on in life, and then you learn how to also model to them how you then get up from that fall down in whatever it was that was going on between you. And then they see that like there's this healthy cycle that goes on in relationships that they get to witness. And I believe that a healthy relationship is one of the biggest gifts that you could give to your children. And
And
I feel it.
resolving conflict is an important life skill. And as long as there's no disrespect and really nastiness with the arguing, I guess, but the point of it being to show that yes, conflict does happen. Conflict is not a bad thing. I like the fact that you say that, and overcoming conflict or resolving conflict, that's what life is about.
Yeah. And we can even get out of the conflict stronger and
Yeah.
love each other even more. I
Yeah.
remember once me and my husband were discussing something. We actually weren't even arguing about something personal. It was like, I don't remember, there was like something happening that we were passionate about and we were like talking about it. And my daughter she was very young at the time, and she said to my son, "Don't worry, they love each other even when they're talking like that." And like and to me, to hear that was so beautiful, that she knew to say, like, it's okay, even if you have something that you feel, of course, like you said, in a respectful way, and you need to learn how to fight and how to resolve conflict. But if it's in a respectful and, positive way,
Yeah.
then it's definitely something that we're teaching our children.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great story. And I have said time and time again is that, and just reiterating what you just said, is that we can tell our kids how to do this and how to do that, but they pick up so much more energetically and non-verbally than anything that we could say. They're just really sensitive that way. Pretty much most kids, the younger they are, I think that the more sensitive and the more absorbing of all the energy around them.
So much so.
We want it to be loving energy, absolutely, to give to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what is your podcast called if people wanted to try to find you?
So my podcast, it's actually pretty new. I birthed a baby and a podcast in the same week. Oh
my God.
It was actually like something I said, I need to get this out before I have the baby. I launched the podcast and had the baby the next day.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it was great. So the podcast is called The New Mama Marriage Bliss Show.
Okay.
And you can find me on, I think, almost every podcast app or on my website, yep. alizasaid.com/podcast.
Yep.
You could find me in both places.
Okay, very good. And you are just the picture of happiness and love, and you exude great energy, even with just having had your 5th child. But like you say, I suppose that you feel like you've got more love. I can see how that is. You don't get drained by more each child. You get built up. I can understand that. Even though I stopped at 3 and didn't go to 5, but I can understand what you're saying. And you are the picture of that.
Thank you so much. Look, there are challenges and we all are human beings, but we really try to be intentful and living with joy and purpose. So
yeah,
it brings happiness.
And the day-to-day stuff, the superficial stuff, the laundry and the dishes and the driving to school and all that kind of stuff that's the mundane, and that's what people get so tired of. But if you can get to that deeper stuff, that deeper connection, both with your kids and with your spouse, and really pay attention to what counts and what matters, and basically love is what matters. And it may sound all woo-woo, but it's really true. That's really what's important. And the dishes and the laundry and the dirty bathroom really is not so important.
Not so important. And also it can become a means to the love and the connection. Like, I actually have 2 kids that are in isolation now because of COVID and everything. And cooking in the kitchen became like such a great time of connection, or cooking lunch or folding laundry. Like, who knew that putting back laundry on your bike in the house could be so much fun? Like, the mundane can become really great. And not always, I hate putting back laundry, but but if you can change, again, it's a mindset switch of how you see it.
Yeah, mindset, how you look at something. That's so true in all areas of life, is how you decide to look at something. You can look at it positively or negatively, and it's up to you to decide how you're going to do it. Well, Aliza, I think that you do awesome work. I love, like I say, I love your energy and what you have to say, and the fact that you have 5 kids and you're here on this show. Thank you so much. Smiling. And I don't even know, what time is it where you're at?
It's 5 to 10 at night.
Geez. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. You need to get sleep while you can.
That's
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to add before we sign off and stop and end the show? Because I know that we could go on and on, actually. But do you have anything in particular that you want to finish off with?
Well, I just want to wish everybody peace and joy and happiness in their homes. And I'm really open. I always tell people, like, even you could just DM me, like, with questions or with, can you please give me a suggestion for what to do here? And I'm always really, really happy to answer. So you can find me on Instagram or on Facebook. If there's something you're struggling with in your home, I'm really happy. I believe, I mean, it might sound a little big, but world peace starts with peace in our homes.
Yeah.
And like, before with everything going on in the world lately, I feel like, sometimes there's so much turbulence outside that what we need to work on is creating really great stability and love inside our homes. So I'm really happy to help anybody in any way that I can. So you're more than welcome to reach out. You can find me on Instagram or on Facebook. And I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
That's amazing. That is great. Well, thank you very much for that offer. Anybody who wants to get hold of her, AlizaSaid.com. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this show for today. Thank you, Aliza, for being here. Thank you all for being here, listening and watching and paying attention to what we all had to talk about, which is really, really important stuff, I think. As she said, it all, the love and what we want the world to be begins at home. Okay, so thanks for being here, and I will see you next week.